Welcome to the Rex Andrews Show. For those who've been following, we're glad you're back. For those who are new, we're glad you found us. Hey, today we have an exciting episode, but before that, a little bit of house cleaning. The Rex Andrews Show is syndicated on 23 distribution points on the internet and apps. So whether you look in iHeart or Pandora, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, we're everywhere. So wherever you listen to podcasts, you hope that you'll find us there, and we're excited to have you. We have a great sponsor that helps us keep the program uninterrupted, so we get this out of the way up front. Our friends at Wealth Management Group. They are awesome. They do not sell products. They sit down with you and help you understand the vehicles that are available to you to meet your financial goals. I love them. They're great guys. They work all over the United States. Their website is wealthmanagement.estate. So that's wealthmanagement.estate. All right, buckle in. Today's a funny story. Again, we're really close. It's the beginning of January 21. We're really close to adding in some guest interviews starting next week. Excited about that. All kinds of varieties. It'll be a fun ride. But today we got another story from my, what I call Driving You Crazies series. In that series, let me explain the background for that. Early on, when Uber and Lyft just had come out, my partner that I was in business with to build mobile applications, we decided we would investigate what the possibility is to launch a new app that would be competitive to the existing rideshare applications. So we decided, like any good programmers and business analysts, to go out and actually drive and experience what the drivers experience and experience what the riders experience. And so we went out and did that, drove the platforms, even drove taxi. And as a result of that, there were some crazy stories. And you always hear in the news, or especially we did when those platforms were brand new, about the quote, crazy Uber driver or the crazy Lyft driver and issues they got into. Crazy taxi driver has been around forever. Well, what I found as a driver while doing this research experiment, that it really wasn't so much the crazy drivers, it was the crazy riders, the unwashed public. So anyway, so this was back, I don't remember the year. I'm getting old, and so I don't remember all those things. And I could dig it out of my noggin eventually, but I know it was in January 20th to be exact. Now, this was a Friday night, and it must have been around midnight when I got called to a bar to pick up a young lady. Now, one weird thing about being a driver is when you get called to a bar, you'd show up, there'd be 30, 40 people standing outside staring down at their phones, just looking there. So you always had to text and call. Well, I pulled up and I was trying to find this lady. And of course, you know, in their apps, they had pictures of your car and your license plates. She wasn't coming out. So I started texting and then finally got her on the phone. When I got her on the phone, it was kind of weird because she wasn't like all coherent. She was just kind of scrambled and stuff. But, you know, hey, she'd been out at a bar on a Friday night, been drinking, you know, good for her. So finally she gets into the car. Now, it's 20 degrees out. It's snowing lightly, okay? Just starting to spit snow. So it's not a big blizzard, but it's starting to spit snow, and it's cold. So I had the heat on, and she opens up the door and gets in. And I mean, the minute she got the door closed, she literally says to me, it's really kind of warm in here. Could you turn the heat down? I'm like, well, no problem. Now, we had about a 15-minute drive to get to her house. And so we started to drive. And, you know, I was, the type of a driver, because that's just who I am. I'll talk to anybody, you know. I embarrass my family because I talk to people at the grocery store and at the hardware store anyway. So when I was driving, I basically I had a captive audience. So unless they were going to sleep or they were, in a bad state, most everybody engaged in conversation. So I started talking to her, and it was clear to me she was not on just alcohol. She had consumed something else. Well, we get about 2, 3 minutes into the drive, and she asks me, "Are you okay if I roll the windows down? I'm really hot." Well, I wore a sweatshirt whenever I was driving because sometimes you had to get out and put luggage in and stuff like that, but you didn't want to have to fuss with a coat. So I got a sweatshirt on. Yeah, no problem. So, yeah, roll the windows down. Go ahead, knock yourself out. She rolls the windows down, and it's crazy because there's snow coming in the car, an absolute wind, that's coming in because she had both rear windows full down. So I felt like I was driving around in a Arctic wind tunnel, but hey, they're paying the fare. I got to get it done. It was part of the experience, so we're going along. Well, I'm driving along, and it was mostly just surface streets. I get a light here and there. And the next thing I notice in the rearview mirror, I see that infamous woman's I'm taking off my top. The crossed arms up over your head, take off a top. And I was shell-shocked. I was like, what are you doing? Well, this young lady actually, and she was probably in her late 20s, early 30s, a very attractive young lady. If I had been a 25-year-old driver, I might try to get her phone number. But, I was in my 50s or early 50s, kids in college, late 40s. I don't, again, kids in college, kids in high school. No, I'm old enough to be this girl's dad. So anyway, she takes off her top, and unfortunately, she doesn't have a bra on. And I'm like, oh no, this will not end well. This is nothing but trouble. Now, if I had been a younger man, boy, I probably would have been pumped about that. An attractive young lady sitting in the back of my vehicle with her top off. Well, we drive a little further on, and I'm like, what do I do? I mean, I don't want trouble. I don't want a morning news CNN moment where driver is arrested from, a sexual assault or something like this. So I'm just racking my brain, trying to figure out what I should do. Well, she's fishing around back there, and I didn't realize at the time, but she had taken off her skirt, her shoes, and she was basically sitting in the back of the car with a thong on. And I'm thinking about risk. I'm not thinking about, a naked woman. If I want to see those, I can make arrangements for that. I could catch up with my wife. I could, there's plenty of things I could do to find a naked woman. So I was only thinking about, oh my goodness, this is trouble. So we pulled up to a light at a major intersection. And my plan was I was going to take my sweatshirt off. So I took my sweatshirt off, and I basically handed it back, trying not to look, and said to the lady, "Ma'am, I don't want you to think that there's anything bad going on here. I don't want any accusations. I want you to have your privacy, but I still want you to be comfortable. So would you mind holding this sweatshirt up in front of you? I mean, you don't have to put it on, just hold it up in front of you." So she obliged me, and she did. So she basically had it held up like this a little bit. Now, she was drunk and not in the best control, so sometimes she'd, move it around and things. And I'm like, okay, first safety moment there. So we finally find her address, and it was a wonky part of town where there are a lot of new homes and things. And so the addresses weren't exactly nailing it on the GPS system. So we find her place, and it had snowed a few days before, so the ground was covered with snow, and her sidewalk was not shoveled. So I pulled up, and all I wanted to do was get her out of the car and get her on her way without any more worries about interactions, comments, anything. So, of course, the nice thing about the rideshare apps, you get paid without having to do anything other than accept the payment and get a rating. And I thought, man, I'm not even asking this lady for a rating. I just want to get out of here. So she opens up the car door, and grabbed up the rest of her belongings. So she had a little purse, a little handbag. Obviously, probably not much in it, her cell phone and those types of things, and her clothes, and my sweatshirt. And she gets out, and I'm like, okay, I gotta get pictures. So I'm in the middle of the night. I've got my flash, my camera on, and I'm sticking it out the window, and I'm just taking pictures as she's walking away. So here we have this tall, attractive lady with complete bare backside, only with a thong on, walking through the snow. So I thought, this is over, but my risk isn't over. I've got to protect myself. So I pulled down the street about 6 blocks, found a place to pull over and in front of another house. And I basically picked up the phone and called the police. So I called the Lakewood police. And I made a report and had them come out and meet me, because all I could think about is that this young woman would wake up the next day in her own bed without any clothes on, and she would have my sweatshirt, which would probably have my DNA on it. I mean, I'm not a crime scene investigator, but she would have my sweatshirt, and the only thing that she could remember is she took an Uber on the way home. Well, in this world of ambulance chasing litigators and people who are out for the cancel culture and accusations, my mind was thinking, no matter what her state, she could call the police and report me, and I would be in one of those situations where it's pretty much I'm guilty until proven innocent, her word against mine, and the fact that she'd woken up without her clothes on. So the police came, they took the report, and they congratulated me and thanked me because they said that was really smart. Well, the next day came, nothing happened. I waited 2 or 3 days before anything was to, be settled. I called the officer that was there who made the report to make sure if anything had been reported, because I was freaked out. I mean, I wasn't there for the peep show. I was there for basically, trying to make sure that I wasn't accused of something that I obviously didn't do. I mean, it's an absolute crazy world. So that's it. That was my story of the naked rider. I guess clothes are always an option.